In the heart of Zimbabwe, the village of Mondoro was abuzz with whispers of a complicated love triangle. Muneyi was a humble and kind-hearted young man and had loved Hazvi since they were children. Their bond was deep and filled with shared memories and dreams. However, another suitor arrived into the village. His name was Tapfuma, and he was a charming and ambitious young man. He was immediately captivated by Hazvi's beauty. Hazvi found herself torn between the steadfast love of Muneyi and the magnetic pull of Tapfuma. The village noticed her indecision, but Hazvi kept her true feelings hidden, unsure of her heart's desire. This tension built up until one fateful evening, when Tapfuma, unable to contain his jealousy, had confronted Muneyi by the river. The confrontation was heated. Words turned into shoves, and in a tragic twist, Tapfuma struck Muneyi down. Muneyi's body was left by the river, lifeless, while Tapfuma fled into the night, his mind reeling with the gravity of his actions. The following morning, Tapfuma's body was discovered, casting a cloud of sorrow and confusion over the village. Hazvi's heart shattered, realizing her indecision had played a part in this tragedy. She vowed to keep her secrets hidden, hoping to escape the wrath of the villagers. The morning after Muneyi's lifeless body was found, the village of Mondoro was engulfed in sorrow and speculation. Tapfuma was racked with guilt and tried to maintain a facade of normalcy. He avoided the questioning eyes of the villagers and stayed away from the scene of the crime. Meanwhile, Hazvi was inconsolable. Her grief was compounded by the knowledge that her indecision had contributed to Muneyi's death. She wept silently, fearing that the truth of her entanglement with Tapfuma might be revealed. As the days passed, Muneyi's spirit, unable to find peace, began to awaken. His love for Hazvi and the injustice of his death bound him to the mortal world. One night, Tapfuma awoke to find Muneyi's ghostly figure standing at the foot of his bed, his eyes filled with sorrow and accusation. Tapfuma's heart pounded in his chest as Muneyi's spirit whispered, "You took my life, Tapfuma. I will not rest until justice is served." From that night on, Muneyi's spirit haunted Tapfuma relentlessly. Shadows moved in his periphery, whispers filled the silence, and Tapfuma was troubled with guilt. His once confident demeanor began to crumble under the weight of Muneyi's vengeance. Hazvi's life became a waking nightmare. Muneyi's death weighed heavily on her heart, and the guilt of her secret relationship with Tapfuma troubled her. She felt trapped, unable to confide in anyone, especially her husband, Jikinya, whom she had married a short while after Muneyi's death. Every night, she relived the tragic events in her dreams. Muneyi's spirit visited her, his eyes filled with sorrow and longing. "Remember me, Hazvi," he would whisper. "Remember our love." These dreams left Hazvi exhausted and fearful, but she couldn't bring herself to tell Jikinya the truth. Instead, she fabricated stories about her nightmares, claiming they were the result of stress and anxiety. Jikinya, though concerned, believed her, attributing her unrest to the recent tragedy in the village. Meanwhile, Tapfuma's torment continued. Muneyi's spirit was relentless, appearing in mirrors and dark corners. His presence was a constant reminder of Tapfuma's crime. Tapfuma turned to alcohol in a bid to attempt to drown out the haunting, but Muneyi's whispers only grew louder. His health began to deteriorate, and he became a shadow of his former self, consumed by guilt and fear. The village elders noticed Tapfuma's decline, and whispered amongst themselves, suspecting that dark forces were at play. One night, Hazvi's nightmares took a darker turn. Muneyi's spirit appeared more vividly than ever before, his voice echoing in her mind. "Hazvi, you must tell the truth," he urged. "You must seek justice for my wrongful death." Hazvi woke up in a cold sweat, her heart pounding. She knew Muneyi was right, but the fear of losing Jikinya's love and the respect of the village paralyzed her. She continued to lie, weaving a web of deceit that grew more tangled with each passing day. Though Jikinya was patient and loving, he grew increasingly concerned. He noticed the dark circles under Hazvi's eyes and her constant state of agitation. "Hazvi, what is the matter, my love? What troubles you so?" he asked one evening. Hazvi forced a smile and repeated her fabricated story about stress and anxiety. Jikinya nodded, but a seed of doubt was planted in his mind. He sought the counsel of the villagers, hoping to find a way to bring Hazvi some peace. The elders recommended a traditional cleansing ritual, believing that Hazvi's nightmares were the result of restless spirits. They gathered sacred herbs and prepared an offering, hoping to appease the spirits and bring tranquility to Hazvi's troubled mind. Despite the cleansing ritual, Hazvi's nightmares persisted. Every night, Muneyi's spirit visited her, his presence growing more intense. He would profess his undying love for her and plead with her to remember him. Hazvi's guilt and fear mounted, and she struggled to hide her distress from Jikinya. She felt trapped in a nightmare from which there was no escape. One night, after a particularly vivid dream, Hazvi woke up screaming. Jikinya embraced her tightly, his concern turning to alarm. "Hazvi, you must tell me what is happening," he implored. Hazvi hesitated, torn between the desire to confide in her husband and the fear of losing him. As before, she fabricated yet another lie. Jikinya wanted to believe his wife, but he was skeptical. He, however, sought the help of the village healer, hoping to find a way to bring Hazvi some peace. Meanwhile, Tapfuma's torment reached new heights. Muneyi's spirit haunted him relentlessly, appearing in mirrors and whispering into the night. Tapfuma's guilt gnawed at him, and he found himself unable to escape the torment. Hazvi's anxiety grew with each step, fearing what the healer might uncover. Jikinya, sensing her unease, held her hand tightly and offered words of comfort. Upon their arrival, Sekurunzo listened to their story with grave concern. He explained that Muneyi's spirit was bound by the injustice of his death and the unresolved love for Hazvi. To appease the spirit, they would need to perform a cleansing ritual at the site of his death and seek his forgiveness. Meanwhile, Tapfuma's life was becoming a waking nightmare. Muneyi's spirit haunted him day and night, a relentless presence that filled him with fear and regret. He could hear his whispers in the silence and feel his accusing gaze in the darkness. Tapfuma's once confident demeanor crumbled under the weight of Muneyi's vengeance. Desperate for relief, Tapfuma turned to alcohol, hoping to drown out the haunting whispers. But the more he drank, the stronger Muneyi's presence became. Tapfuma's health began to deteriorate, his body weakening under the strain of constant fear and guilt. He became a shadow of his former self, isolated from the community and consumed by his torment. The villagers noticed Tapfuma's decline and began to whisper about the dark forces at play. They speculated that Tapfuma was being punished by the spirits for some grievous sin. One evening, unable to bear the torment any longer, Tapfuma sought out Sekurunzou, the traditional healer. He confessed his crime, tears streaming down his face as he begged for his help. Sekurunzou listened with a stern expression, understanding the gravity of Tapfuma's actions. Muneyi's spirit seeks justice, he told Tapfuma. You must face the consequences of your actions and seek his forgiveness. Only then can you find peace. Meanwhile, Hazvi's nightmares grew more intense, leaving her exhausted and fearful. One night, after a particularly vivid nightmare, she woke up screaming. Jekinya rushed to her side, his concern turning to alarm. Hazvi, my love, you must tell me what is happening, he implored. Hazvi could no longer bear the weight of the deceit. She broke down and confessed everything to Jekinya. The love triangle with Muneyi and Tapfuma, Muneyi's tragic death, and her guilt and sorrow. Jekinya was shocked and hurt, struggling to process the revelations. He felt betrayed, not just by Hazvi, but by the spirits that now haunted their lives. Hazvi wept, fearing that she had lost Jekinya's love and trust forever. Though he was heartbroken, he loved Hazvi deeply. He understood the weight of her guilt and the torment she had endured. We will find a way to bring peace to Muneyi's spirit, he assured her. We will face this together. Determined to help Hazvi find peace, Jekinya sought Sekurunzou's counsel once more. The healer listened to their story with grave concern and explained that Muneyi's spirit was bound by the injustice and his unresolved love for Hazvi. To appease the spirits, they would need to perform the ritual. Hazvi was filled with a mixture of hope and dread. She feared facing Muneyi's spirit, but she knew it was the only way to find peace. Jekinya remained steadfast, supporting Hazvi through her turmoil. Together, they prepared for the ritual, gathering sacred herbs and crafting offerings. Sekurunzou guided them through the preparations, emphasizing the importance of sincerity and humility. You must be honest and open your hearts, he advised. Only then will Muneyi's spirit find peace. Hazvi and Jekinya gathered the necessary items for the ritual: sacred herbs, offerings, and a piece of cloth from Muneyi's belongings. They prepared themselves mentally and spiritually for the encounter, knowing it would be a challenging journey. On the day of the ritual, Sekurunzou led them to the river. The air was thick with tension, and they approached the site of Muneyi's death. Sekurunzou began the ceremony, chanting ancient prayers and burning the sacred herbs. Hazvi and Jekinya followed Sekurunzou's instructions carefully, placing the offerings by the river and lighting the sacred herbs. The smoke swirled around them, filling the air with a sense of spiritual presence. Hazvi's heart pounded as she waited for Muneyi's spirit to appear. As the ritual progressed, Muneyi's spirit appeared, a spectral figure filled with sorrow and anger. Hazvi trembled, but she knew she had to face him. "Muneyi," she began, her voice shaking, "I'm so sorry for what happened. I loved you, and I never wanted this. Please, find it in your heart to forgive me." Muneyi's spirit seemed to soften, his sorrowful gaze fixed on Hazvi. "I loved you too, Hazvi," he whispered, "but I cannot rest until justice is served." Meanwhile, as Tapfuma's torment reached a breaking point, he sought out Sekurunzo once more. He confessed his crime and begged his help. Sekurunzo listened with a stern expression, understanding the gravity of Tapfuma's actions. "Muneyi's spirit seeks justice. You wronged him," he told Tapfuma. "You must face the consequences of your actions and seek for his forgiveness. Only then can you hope to find peace." Sekurunzo told him of the planned ritual with Jikinya and Hazvi. Tapfuma agreed to participate in the ritual, hoping to find redemption and end his torment. He knew it would be a difficult journey, but he was willing to do whatever it took to make amends for his crime. As they continued the ritual, Tapfuma arrived, desperate and repentant. He fell to his knees, confessing his crime and begging for Muneyi's forgiveness. The air was thick with tension as the two men faced each other, one seeking justice and the other redemption. Muneyi's spirit flickered, torn between vengeance and peace. "Tapfuma, you took my life," he said, his voice echoing in the stillness. "But I see your remorse. I see your suffering." The tension at the river was palpable as Muneyi's spirit confronted Tapfuma. Hazvi held her breath, hoping for a resolution that would bring peace to Muneyi's restless spirit. Tapfuma was on his knees, tears streaming down his face, and pleaded for forgiveness. "I am sorry, Muneyi," he cried. "I was blinded by jealousy and rage. Please forgive me." Muneyi's spirit hovered, his expression a mixture of sorrow and contemplation. "Tapfuma, you have caused great pain," he said slowly, "but I see your remorse. I see your suffering." The air grew thick with anticipation as Muneyi's spirit pondered his next words. Hazvi and Jikinya stood silently, their hearts pounding. The fate of Muneyi's spirit and Tapfuma's redemption hung in the balance. Muneyi's spirit flickered, torn between vengeance and peace. "I need time," he finally said. "Time to understand if I can forgive you. For now, my presence will remain, but I will consider your plea." With those words, Muneyi's spirit faded into the night, leaving Hazvi, Jikinya, and Tapfuma in a state of unresolved tension. The journey toward redemption and peace was far from over, and the lingering presence of Muneyi's spirit served as a reminder of the unfinished business that bound their fates together.